right. Thank you so much for being here with me this morning on as we approach the first Sunday of Advent, which is hope. And as we get settled into our mat, whether we're lying down with our arms and legs open wide, or maybe seated in an easy pose with our legs crossed and our hands open, we can begin to bring some awareness to our breath. And as we continue to sink deeply into this rest posture, we can gently feel the inhale and exhale, allowing ourselves to feel that ease of breath and even the ease of the movement in our body as we feel the expansiveness through our belly, ribs, and chest, and that flow as we gently release everything back to the floor. And as we continue to deeply inhale and exhale, we can take that awareness to our thoughts and our body and take a moment to acknowledge anything that we're holding tension with. And with our breath, give ourselves the permission to let that go. And even if we're not able to fully let it go, maybe it's allowing ourselves to sit with it and let it flow. Allowing ourselves the opportunity to breathe into it and release it. And as we focus our practice on the idea of hope, we can imagine as though we each are igniting our own flame. And in igniting this flame, our breath only continues to let it glow. And as we inhale and exhale, our exhale doesn't blow the flame out, but rather expands the flame, glowing ever more bright and circulating all throughout our body. Our breath continues to cycle that warm glow all the way through our thighs and our knees, all the way to our calves and our feet, and out through the toes. And on our next inhale, it circulates, coming all the way up into our belly button and into our chest. And our next breath sends it all the way down the arms, through the hands, and out through the fingertips. Breathing ever more deeply, we feel that glow circulate so that it comes into our throat, into our face, and out through the top of our head. As we continue to breathe and feel this presence of hope circulating through our body, emerging all around us, we can embrace this opportunity to find a place of calmness, stillness, and peacefulness, allowing our mind and our thoughts to go inward. And if we find that our mind and our thoughts start to travel, and once again, focus on that glowing breath, the inhale and exhale of hope. As we continue to deeply inhale and exhale, we're reminded that we can always come back to this breath of hope, whether it's in this practice or throughout our week, bringing ourselves to our body when so often our minds can be in the future or in the past. We can remember that our breath brings us back to the present moment. And as we prepare for our practice, we can take this moment, if we're not already on our backs on our mat, we can lie on the floor. And together, stretching the arms up overhead and the legs wide at the end of our mat, we can inhale deeply, stretching our whole body, and exhaling, letting it go, feeling our body return back to the floor. We'll do this again, deeply inhaling, stretching our body long, and exhaling, letting it go. One last time together. Again, deeply inhaling, our biggest stretch yet. And maybe dramatically sigh. Releasing everything to the floor. I invite you to continue to keep the eyes closed as we begin to introduce some movement to our body. And staying in this Shavasana or rest posture lying down, we can begin to introduce some movement into the body, maybe starting to wiggle our fingers and toes, maybe nodding our head from side to side, really feeling the full weight of our body on the mat. And when we're ready, we'll gently bring ourselves ready. So we bring both of our feet a little bit closer together on the mat. And on our inhale, let's bring the right knee into the chest. And on our exhale, switch the legs, bringing the left knee into the chest and sending the other leg long on the mat. Let's try that again. On our inhale, bringing the other knee in. And again, switching it, bringing our breath and our movement together. Again, as we switch both knees, we can experiment with giving our knee a little bit more of a squeeze into the chest so we can feel that extra little stretch and allowing our body to surrender a little bit into this gentle movement. Let's try that a few more times again, going at our own pace. It can be very slow, or if we're wanting to bring some heat into the body, maybe going a little bit faster, gently bringing each knee in. And one last time, this time, let's bring both knees together, give them a gentle squeeze into the chest, and maybe even try rocking from side to side. Gently feeling that release in our lower back. And in our own time, we can gently place our feet onto the mat. And we'll take a moment to release our hips a bit. Let's bring both knees to one side and then take them to the other, almost like we're windshield wiping with our knees. And when we're ready, we'll prepare for a bridge pose, bringing our hands to each side of our hips. We'll gently put some pressure into our feet as we inhale, bringing the hips up to the sky, and exhaling, releasing all the way back to the floor. Let's try that again. Inhaling, bringing the hips up, and exhaling, letting it all go back to the mat. We can even try flowing bridge, which means taking our arms up overhead and exhaling, releasing all the way back to the mat. We'll try this a few more times again, going at our own pace, taking a break as we want. And again, always focusing on the breath to guide our movement. We'll do a couple more of these. Again, reaching, feeling that dynamic tension and the release. Let's try that one more time. Inhaling our deepest stretch. And if we want, we can even bring our shoulders in towards the middle of the mat, make a fist, bring the hips up a little bit more. And exhale, release everything back to the floor. And to give ourselves an opportunity for that counter stretch, let's bring the knees into the chest. And again, take this opportunity to rock from side to side. And when we're ready, let's bring our feet to the floor and actually bring our knees over to our favorite side, or maybe the side that you can see me, and come into a little bit of a fetal position. And when we're ready, gently placing some weight into our hands, we'll come up so that we come into a tabletop position. And when we go into this, I like to do a little stretch for our wrists. So we'll just gently place, we'll make sure we stack our wrists under our shoulders and make sure our knees are in line with our hips. And we're just gonna gently rock from side to side. And as we do this, we can start to take our hands so that they go to the side of our mat. So our fingertips start to rotate in opposite directions. And when we feel we've arrived at a point that we're ready to stop, we'll just take a moment to do some gentle circles, going one way and then the other. And when we're ready, let's go back the other way. Again, gently rocking back from side to side and bringing our fingertips back so that they're at the front of the mat. Again, if anybody has any wrist issues, we can also come onto our fists at any time, or just take a break as you need it. And as we continue, we'll get ready for our cat and cow pose. And when we're ready, let's deeply inhale, reaching the belly button to the floor. And exhale, draw the belly button up and arching our back almost just like a cat. Inhaling through cow, bringing the tailbone and the forehead up. And exhaling, drawing back all the way through. We can continue to do this, again, letting our breath be our guide, flowing in and out of the posture as slowly or as quickly as we want. Almost making the connection so that it's one flow of movement, embracing the inevitability that with every inhale, there's always an exhale. Let's do 2 more of these. And when we're ready, we'll get ourselves to prepare our balance. So we can start by bringing one arm up and returning it back to the floor, taking the other arm up and bringing it back. And again, if we want to try a little bit more, we can inhale, extend one arm and the opposite leg, and exhale, bring everything back. Again, inhaling, reaching, and exhaling, returning to the floor. And if we want, we can even inhale, reach forward, and bring our elbow to the knee, and bring everything back to the floor. Continuing as we flow through the movement. Again, feeling that push and pull in this gentle way as we create heat in this slow but dynamic movement. Let's try it one more time. And we're ready. We'll take a moment of rest, bringing ourselves all the way back into child's pose, bringing our hips towards the end of our mat and releasing our arms up. And if child's pose is not necessarily a favorite, we can even come up a little bit higher on our knees, stack our fists, and gently rest our head on our fists. We'll just take a moment here, and whatever rest posture feels right, please continue to visit at any time during our practice. Taking a few breaths here, allowing ourselves to refocus, bringing ourselves into the present moment. And when we're ready, we're going to do a gentle flow, inhaling, coming up on the knees, and exhaling as we come all the way down onto our belly. We'll inhale, coming up into a gentle cobra, and exhaling, pushing our weight into our hands and pushing our hips all the way back into child's pose. We'll do this 2 more times. Again, inhaling, coming all the way forward. Exhaling as we come down. Inhaling through cobra. And exhaling again as we push ourselves back down into child's pose. Let's try that one more time. Again, inhaling, coming forward, feeling that dynamic tension, delaying our going into the floor, inhaling through cobra, and exhaling again one last time, coming into child's pose. We'll take a moment here again, taking a deep breath, and exhaling, letting it go. And when we're ready, we'll prepare ourselves for our first downward dog. And all options are great if you have others at this point. Your practice, your flow, everything is welcome. So let's prepare ourselves by gently coming forward, putting some weight into our hands and making sure we starfish our hands so that we have weight in our palms and all the way through our fingertips. And gently we'll curl the toes under, bring our heels back, put some tension into our thighs, and release all the way back into downward facing dog. And while we're here, we'll just take a few gentle breaths, allowing ourselves to pedal out the feet, maybe bringing both feet up at the same time and releasing back down, or doing one at a time. And when we're ready, we can bring our feet to our hands, or we can bring our hands to our feet. You can choose your own adventure. I'm going to bring my hands to my feet. And from here, we'll gently give ourselves this opportunity to enjoy this forward fold. Or if we have any, if we prefer to be a little bit higher up, we can also just gently bring our hands to our thighs up here. Otherwise, we can gently release here, taking our elbows, again, checking in with our body, releasing our back of our neck and shoulders, maybe nodding yes or no, allowing our head to release a little bit more. And when we're ready, we'll bend the knees, inhale, swoop the arms all the way up, and exhale, bring our hands to heart center. Excellent. All right. To give ourselves a little bit more heat, we're going to flow through sunflowers and moonflowers. So bringing our feet a little bit wider and pointing the toes to the corners of our mat. We'll first of all inhale, bring the arms up. And on our exhale, bend the elbows, bend the knees, and reach back up. Then inhaling through the top and exhaling, squatting down. It's like a fancy squat. Again, enjoying that feeling of reaching. It's almost like you're opening yourself up to this day filled with hope and love, and knowing that we're all doing it together. And when we're ready, let's flow into moonflowers. This time, we'll do the same movement, inhaling through the top and exhaling, bending the knees, flowing the arms down and reaching back up. Let's try that again. Coming down and reaching up. Again, remember to inhale through the top, exhale as we lower down. And if we want to get fancy, we can even alternate between moonflowers and sunflowers. We can try sunflowers and moonflowers. Let's try one more round of that. And at this point, you should start to feel a little bit of heat in your body. So we'll prepare ourselves for some sun salutations. And again, I'll show two different versions. Choose your own adventure. All of them are good. And if you have your own, that's okay too. So making sure we're at the top of our mat. We'll just take a moment here first. Let's find ourselves in mountain pose. Let's take a moment to bring our shoulders up, back, and down, and extend the arms wide, feeling our feet rooting into the mat. Maybe even close our eyes for a moment. And when we're ready, we'll do this together. Bringing the hands to heart center. Let's inhale, bring the arms up. And exhale, swoop the arms forward. Inhaling, looking up with a flat back. We'll gently place the arms or our hands to the floor and bring our knees to the mat. And coming all the way into child's pose. On our next inhale, just like we did before, we come forward, coming down to the mat and inhaling through cobra. We exhale, pushing ourselves all the way back down into child's pose. On our next inhale, let's bring that right foot forward and bring the left foot to meet it. Gently inhaling, looking up again with a flat back. We exhale, bring our hands back to the mat. On our next inhale, bend the knees, reach all the way up, swooping the arms. And exhale, bring the hands to heart center. And we'll try that on the other side. Again, inhaling deeply, exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, coming up halfway. Exhaling, this time bringing the other knee to the mat and bringing the other one to find it as we come into child's pose. Inhaling, coming forward all the way to the front of our mat with our bellies on the floor. We inhale, look up into cobra, and exhale, push through our hands all the way back into child's pose. On our next inhale, we'll reach that foot in between the hands and bring the other foot to meet it. Again, inhaling, looking up. We exhale, bring our hands closer to the floor. On our next inhale, bending the knees, swooping the arms all the way up. We exhale, bring our hands to heart center. We can repeat this one, or we can try another one, or you can do a little bit of a combination of both. And this one, also note when we do upward facing dog, it's all okay to bring your belly all the way to the floor. So here we go. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling, looking up halfway. We exhale, bringing the right foot and the left foot into plank. On our inhaling through the top, we exhale, lower down. Inhaling through upward facing dog and exhaling into downward facing dog. On our next inhale, looking in between the fingers, bringing our feet up onto the toes. We bring our right foot forward and bring our left foot to meet it. Inhaling, we look up halfway. Exhale, return back to the mat. Inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. We exhale, bringing the hands to heart center. Taking one deep breath in and exhaling, release. Let's try that on the other side. Once again, inhaling, reaching the arms up. We exhale, fold forward. Inhaling, look up. This time we bring the left foot back and the right foot to meet it. Inhaling through the top of our plank. We exhale, lower down. Inhaling through upward facing dog and exhale into downward facing dog. On our next inhale, let's bring the left foot in between the hands and the right foot to meet it. Inhaling again, looking up. We exhale, fold forward. This time our deepest breath, bending the knees, reaching all the way up. We exhale, bringing our hands to heart center. And let's take a moment of pause, checking in with our breath, checking in with our body, noticing the heat we've created from this gentle movement, feeling our feet rooting through the mat, and the gentle flow. And when we're ready with this heat we've created, we'll gently give ourselves a little bit of an opportunity to strengthen our body by coming into chair pose. So gently bringing ourselves so that we're as if we're seating ourselves in a chair. We can bring our bottom back and we can keep our hands here, or if we want, we can extend our arms all the way up, really trying to lock into our heels and the sides of our feet, keeping our shoulders back and down, shining the chest forward. And when we're ready, let's swoop the arms up as we inhale. And exhale, bring the hands to heart center. And again, if we just want to stay in mountain pose, that's totally okay too. Let's try that one more time. Again, coming all the way down into our chair. We inhale, reach the arms up and bring our focus as we continue to breathe, holding this posture, experimenting if we can bring ourselves a little bit lower, creating that dynamic tension and challenge in our body. And once again, when we're ready, let's swoop the arms up and exhale, bring the hands to heart center. All right. Let's bring ourselves back down to the mat. On our next inhale, just like our sun salutations, bring our hands up and exhale, fold forward. On our next inhale, let's look up halfway and exhale. Let's bring our one knee back to the mat and the other knee to meet it and come back down into child's pose. We'll just take a moment here to recalibrate, find our breath, reconnect with our bodies and minds, staying in the present moment. And when we're ready, we'll get ourselves prepared for side angle pose. And there's a couple of different ways to do this. And if you have your own way, I invite you to go for it. Otherwise, you can join me by gently coming forward onto all fours. And when we're ready, start to place, in my case, I'm going to start with my left side, but choose whatever side makes sense, or maybe the side that you can see me the best. So starting to put some weight into our left hand and maybe even into our left knee, we'll gently take our foot a little bit further so that it may even go outside the mat, and start to extend the opposite leg and open up ourselves so that we open our chest and extend that arm up into side angle pose. Again, remembering to breathe when we do this. Seeing if we can find that gentleness in our face, even when we're doing something a little bit challenging. And when we're ready, let's bring that hand back to the mat and we'll come back into child's pose just for a moment. And now that we know what to do on that side, let's try it on the other side. I'm going to turn myself so it's a little bit easier to see me. So once again, coming up onto our knees and preparing ourselves, maybe extending the leg a little bit longer. You can continue what we did before, or you can try a little bit of a different version of side angle pose. Again, putting all of our weight into the hands supporting us, and we can stack the feet and open ourselves up so that our hips are off the floor, our feet are stacked, and we're creating one long line with our hands and our arms. Taking a deep breath, feeling that engagement in our core. Let's stretch all the way through our fingertips and release ourselves all the way back down. And let's find child pose or a constructive rest posture. That again, maybe we'll try stacking our hips and coming up on the knees, just to change it up. And when we're ready, we'll get ourselves back up onto all fours. And we can try this from this kneeling position, or we can try it in downward facing dog. I'm going to show it with downward facing dog. So I'm going to make sure I have equal distribution of weight in my hands and tuck my toes under, sending the heels back into downward facing dog. And when I'm ready, I'm going to track in between my hands, coming up on the toes, bring my foot in between the hands, and gently bring my knee to the floor and making the shoelace side of my foot into the mat and come into a kneeling crescent pose. And again, this is a great place where you could put a sweater or something under your knee just to give yourself a little bit of extra support, depending on your mat. And again, playing with your balance here, maybe seeing if you can gently put a little bit more focus into that front knee and bending it a little bit more forward so you feel that stretch. And another thing we can try is bringing our left hand to the floor and extending the arm up into twisting crescent pose. Taking a few moments here. On our next inhalation, let's unwind, bringing the hands back to heart center and bringing our hands to the floor. We can bring both knees back and go either into child's pose or back into downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here. On our next inhalation, let's do that on the other side. So tracking our hands, coming a bit forward and bringing that foot in between the knees. Let's bring that knee to the floor. And once again, come into that deep stretch in our kneeling crescent pose. And again, lots of options for arms. We can open ourselves a little bit wider, bringing our arms up, making sure that our shoulders are up, back, and down, away from the ears, or in this prayer position. Taking a few more breaths here. Let's deepen our stretch by gently bringing our right hand to the floor and opening ourselves up into that kneeling crescent lunge. Beautiful. Again, always letting ourselves listen to our body as our guide, knowing that our body should always be the dictator of our pose and not the pose dictating our body. Let's take one deep inhalation, really stretching all the way through the fingertips. And unwind, bringing the hands back to heart center. And once again, let's bring our hands to the mat. And again, we can bring both knees together, coming into child's pose, or once again, coming into downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here to recalibrate ourselves, checking in with our body and our mind. And when we're ready, we can gently bring ourselves so that we come into a standing position. So we can do this by bringing our right foot in between the hands and bringing the left foot to meet it. And on our next inhale, gently come all the way up. We'll exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Beautiful. We'll now try something a little different. I'm not sure if we've done this before. So taking our feet so that they're parallel, we'll bring one foot back. In my case, it'll be my left foot, about a foot behind the other. And so your feet should be pretty much parallel with your hips. And making sure we're bringing our shoulders back and down. We'll shine our chest, and hinging at the hips, we'll gently bring our chest forward into what's called pyramid pose. And we'll track ourselves as we come forward. Maybe we gently place our hands onto our shin, or we can come a little bit further down so that we bring our hands to the mat. This should be a really nice stretch in the back of our calves and our hamstrings. And one that's good to do anytime. Again, taking this opportunity to reconnect with our breath, feeling that expansiveness in our lower belly and lower back. And when we're ready, we'll gently inhale and roll ourselves all the way back up to standing. And bring both feet back to the front of the mat. And we'll try that on the other side. Once again, let's try inhaling, reaching the shoulders up, back and down. And when we're ready, track that foot about 1 foot behind the other. And trying to keep the legs relatively straight. Again, shining the chest forward. We'll hinge at the hips and gently come a little bit further forward. Feeling that stretch. And gently coming forward, however far it may be. Allowing our breath to give ourselves that release. Again, checking in with our neck, feeling the calmness in our face. And on our next inhale, let's gently roll all the way back up and bring both feet together at the front of the mat. And when we're ready, let's inhale deeply together, bending the knees, reaching the arms all the way up. We'll exhale, fold forward. Once again, looking up halfway. We'll inhale, bring the hands to the mat, bringing the right knee back and the left to meet it, coming all the way down into child's pose. Taking a moment here. And when we're ready, we'll bring ourselves forward so we're bringing our belly all the way to the mat. This may mean stretching our body a little bit wider. And we'll bring one cheek to the mat and bring the arms to the sides. And just take this moment as if you had a tail. Gently wiggle your tail. We're gonna gently move the hips back and forth, just feeling that release in our lower back for a moment. And when we're ready, we're gonna prepare ourselves for locust. So this is all about dynamic tension. So on our inhale, we're gonna gently allow the tension in our body as we bring ourselves up. We're gonna extend the feet long, extend the tension all the way through our fingertips, almost like you're Superman flowing through the sky. And on our next exhale, let's release all the way down to the mat. This time bringing the opposite cheek to the floor. And again, let's wiggle our tail in between. And we'll try that one more time again. Inhaling, reaching up, extending. With that strength we're feeling in our whole body. Again, as if we're flowing through the air. Take one more moment to add that extra little tension. And exhale, feel that wonderful release. And again, wiggle our tail. All right. And in our own time, let's bring our hands up towards our chest and gently push our weight into our hands and come up into a kneeling position. From here, we'll come into Campbell's pose. So it's almost as if you had pockets in the back of your jeans. We're gonna slide our hands into those pockets into Camel's pose. So we're gonna, again, bring our shoulders up, back and down and try to track our elbows to the back of the room, almost like we're feeling them come together and shine our heart up to the sky. If we're feeling like we want to explore a little bit more flexibility, we can even gently come back a little bit more and see if we can find our heels and open our chest a little bit more into that stretch. Feeling that expansiveness in the chest and through the torso and the abs. And when we're ready, let's release that. And taking our feet to one side with our knees still bent, we'll gently bring our bottom to the floor and come all the way back onto the mat on our back body. And taking these moments, we're going to really focus on finding that deep breath again. When we're ready, we'll bring both knees up, placing the feet near our bottom on the mat. And take our right ankle to our left knee and gently press the knee away so we feel that stretch in our hips. And if it's in our practice today, we'll gently reach in between the thighs and bring our thigh and the ankle a little bit closer to us in this figure 4 stretch. Again, focusing our breath, allowing these stretches to open up our body. And when we're ready, let's gently place that foot to the floor, and keeping our legs in this crossed position, we'll gently allow gravity to take those knees to the floor. You could even place a block under your knees, and don't worry about too much where you land, and extend the opposite arm wide on the floor. And allow each breath to allow ourselves to surrender a little bit more into this release and this spinal twist. And in our own time, on our next inhale, let's come back to center and return both feet back to the mat. Maybe taking this opportunity again to windshield wiper our knees back and forth, feeling how our body has changed as we progress through the practice. And when we're ready, let's try that on the other side. Again, this time bringing the left ankle to the right knee and gently pressing away with our hand as we deepen into that stretch and breathe into it. And once again, we'll bring our hands in between the thighs and bring ourselves into that figure 4 position. Allowing ourselves to feel that calmness, allowing the face to be soft, and really breathing in to the places we need to let go. And once again, let's return that foot to the floor, keeping our legs in this cross position. Again, we'll let gravity take ourselves to one side and open up on the other, extending the opposite arm into the spinal twist. Giving ourselves the permission to be in this present moment of relaxation. And following our next inhale, let's come back to center. Again, windshield wiping the knees from side to side. And bringing the knees into the chest for one last squeeze. We'll release our knees or our legs all the way back to the mat, keeping our legs wide and long and our arms open as we prepare for our final meditation. And we can, even if it's more comfortable, bring our feet up to the mat with our knees bent and bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly to really feel that expansiveness of our breath. And with our eyes closed, once again, we can settle into that breath that we found at the beginning of our practice. Allowing ourselves to feel the softness of our base, the softness of our belly, and feeling the full weight of our back body with the supportiveness of the mat. Returning to that breath of hope with glowing light, circulating all throughout our body. As we continue to deeply inhale and exhale, we allow this glowing light to nourish our whole body and to nourish any of the worry or the hurt or sadness that we might be carrying, and allowing hope to shine through. Allowing ourselves to find the calmness of the present moment and taking this moment to just be with our breath of hope. And as we continue to breathe together this breath of hope, I'd like to share a meditation on hope and love in a time of struggle by Alice Anacheka Naisman. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. Instead, this morning, let us simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open, breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion, breathing out as we pray for healing in our worlds and in our lives. Breathing in ourselves to the transforming power of love, Breathing out as we pray for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts. Breathing out as we pray for justice in our world and in our lives. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage, and may our love flow from us into this world. Breathing in, we are the prayer. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. And may our love flow from us into this world. May it ever be so. And taking these last few moments with ourselves and our breath, as we did at the beginning of our practice, we can once again reintroduce a little bit of movement, keeping our eyes closed, wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe bringing our head from side to side, and taking our feet long on the mat, extending our legs long, extending the arms up overhead, stretching all the way through the fingertips, inhaling deeply and exhaling, letting it go. Once again, inhaling and exhaling, releasing everything to our mat. This time on our last inhale, let's stretch our biggest stretch. And together, deeply sighing, release it all. And in our own time, we can gently take both knees to one side, returning again to that fetal position, gently putting some weight into our hands and allowing ourselves to come back into a seated position together, keeping our eyes open or closed, keeping the palms open, allowing ourselves to feel rooted in the mat. We can take this present moment together with gratitude and hope. And may the light in me honor the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'll just take a moment here to stop the recording.